I have never been at a lower level of stress in my life because I read a book, a very powerful book called Principles by Ray Dalio. I just said his name kind of weird there. I don't know why. Ray Dalio, Dalio. Billionaire hedge fund investor, the biggest in the world. What he does is very unique. He looks at problems as opportunities to evolve, in which you could make better and better problems. If I was to draw it out for you, it looks a little something like this. Maybe you've seen this drawing. Improve, evolve, problem, make a decision, correct the problem, evolve again, run into another problem, correct the problem, evolve, make a better decision, improve, and you just exponentially keep growing and facing more and more difficult problems, but you're equipped with principles to fight those problems because of the problems you ran into in the past. So every time, let me break down some stuff for you right now. You basically operate at two different levels. So you have what's called your amygdala. It's the very primal you. Now, you think of yourself as one, kind of like one you, like you're you. Yeah, that makes sense. When you're talking, you're you know who you are. But there's actually kind of like two yous. So have you ever kind of had a conversation with someone, maybe a loved one, a friend, and all of a sudden you just got so fired up and made yourself look like an idiot and didn't actually make sense because you were just so angry? And then afterwards you were thinking about it and you're like, why didn't I just say this? Like, that would have had such a better outcome. That's the higher level thinking you. And that comes from your neocortex, more specifically your prefrontal cortex. That is logical you. That is higher level thinking you that can pull itself out of itself, look down on itself, and actually analyze circumstances before they have ever happened. So you have the ability to look into the past, present, and future, your prefrontal cortex. You could actually, what makes it, it's the most human thing about a human. Every other animal doesn't really have that going for them. They operate on a very primal level based on instinct. They do not operate on a higher level thinking level like a human would. So what your prefrontal cortex does is it allows you to make decisions based on logic. You can actually think about what would happen before you ever do it. Ever hear the expression, think before you talk, think before you speak, think before this, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, you should. You definitely should. And whenever you run into a problem, problems definitely are usually make you uncomfortable. That's why they're a problem and not a success. It's because something didn't go the way you wanted it to. And now you're in a circumstance where you're faced with a decision. And that's where you earn the gem. Whenever you solve a problem, you earn a gem in the form of a principle, which helps you to then solve future problems without the mess that you made in the first problem. And you keep evolving to a higher level. Evolution is the one overarching force that controls everything. So you evolving as a person is only the consequence of facing problems. So you need to learn how to face your problems. And if you could look at every single problem that you run into as an opportunity, this is going to be a lot more sped up process for you and a lot more efficient. And you're going to beat the majority of people who can't do this. So you need to practice radical open-mindedness. So when you run into a problem or a confrontation with someone else and they have a different view than you, don't assume that you are right. That would be very lower level thinking of you. You always want to put being right below finding out what's actually true. So instead of saying, no, this is what it is, say, that's interesting, you have a different view than me. First of all, it might be good to throw it out on the table and be like, should I tell you what I'm really thinking? And do you want to have like an open-minded conversation about this and get down to what's really true? Or would you prefer that I keep my opinions to myself? Now, if they're a very amygdala-based thinker and they make very instinctive choices and they're very primitive in their thinking, they generally act very rashly and very angrily. So the people that just like explode on you and are just like aggressive, angry people, they don't really have the ability in their brain to access higher level thinking before that happens. Now, what kind of person are you? If you get into a situation, are you truly open-minded? Do you look at like someone that has a different opinion than you and think, I'm better than them? Like, my opinion is the one that's right. Or do you think, that's interesting. I don't think about that specific thing that way. Why are you thinking about it like that? Like, let them talk about it and think about it in your head. Does it make sense? If it does, then being right is so much less important than figuring out what's actually true. So I just really felt like I had to talk to you guys today. I don't know why. I just feel like I have a lot of important things to say, and just the fact that I have a device that I could literally talk to 100 people instantly is amazing. So hopefully we could all share information like this together. I think this is one of the things that is going to lead the future of humanity, to be honest. Being able to communicate so openly now and practicing radical open-mindedness, radical transparency, and being able to operate at a level that actually makes you human. So don't react, think, be radically open-minded so that when someone has a different opinion than you, learning is more important than being right or keeping your ego high. So that's what I wanted you to take away from this, because I've just been at like such peace. Even though I'm running into problems, I don't feel stressed out. It's such a beautiful feeling, and I want you guys to feel like that because it's so important. Everyone is always so overwhelmed because they have problems and they think problems are bad. Problems are awesome. I love running into a problem now. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I get to evolve. I get to become a better person from this. I get to become more knowledgeable after this. The next time I run into a problem similar to this, I'll know what to do. It'll be quick. It'll be done with. Instead of pushing it into the background where it just piles up and you never face anything. That's a very dangerous place to be, and you don't want to be in that place. So I guess if I had to tell you one thing today, practical, radical open-mindedness, and it's going to be hard at first. The amygdala in your brain is gonna want to just kind of snap out, say, I'm right, my opinion's better, get angry, get frustrated. Whenever you feel that sense of frustration, like you just can't get what's on your mind off, try and let the higher level your prefrontal cortex, think about the situation logically and use others to do this as well. You can never see yourself objectively. So I would like to think I could see myself objectively and that I can actually see what I'm really like, but I can never do that because I'm me. So ask people, get them to a point where they're comfortable enough with you to tell you your strengths and your weaknesses, and something that you may think that you're very good at, communicating with someone, making people feel comfortable and welcome. They might think that you're a very imposing person and that you actually make them feel uncomfortable in the way that you talk to them. So like, you can't do this yourself, okay? Humans are not meant to be individual people, individual organisms, okay? You're supposed to be in a community of people. I've done many studies about this. The reason people are so lonely in bigger cities is because there's too many people. People like Amish people, you live in a community of 150 people, you could handle 150 relationships. It's the perfect amount of relationships throughout tribal 200,000 years of humanity. It's how many relationships you're supposed to have without feeling overloaded and not so little that you feel alone. Now we're getting to the point where there's so many people that it actually causes you to feel alone. And I don't want to ramble too much here. I just want to get some stuff off my chest here. If you can take something away from this, practice radical open-mindedness, help contribute to the future of humanity, essentially. Sounds very woo-woo, and people are like, oh, contribute to the future, blah, blah. Yeah, if you're thinking that way, you're probably quite narcissistic and maybe actually would rate high for being more Machiavellian because you think the world's out to get you and you think everything's a plot. And that's probably why everything does end up being sneaky and people are sneaky around you, it's because you attract like people. If you're very Machiavellian or sneaky, yeah, you're probably going to get screwed over a lot because you're going to attract more Machiavellian people. If you're very open-minded, you're going to attract a lot of open-minded people because open-minded people don't like being around closed-minded people. It's just logic. Like, cause and effect is what overrules everything. Look to reality and look to nature if you ever are confused about something. It's operating for the whole, not for the individual.